This is the daily writing exercise recorded, day 26, titled Permian Rage. Lined along the edges of the forest stood a row of rusting shipping containers. They had been there for about 10 years. No one knew what was in them. Some did try to get in, but none ever succeeded. It had been a topic of conversation the morning they were found. Sheriff Longstaff theorized that same afternoon that they must have been placed there during the night, but could not tell by whom. It was done in a hurry though, by 10 different trucks that no one in town had heard come or go. After a week without answers, a deputy was placed on the containers as a watch-out. That lasted about 2 weeks before the deputy delegated the task to a pensioner, whom, after 3 months of watching nothing but bored teenagers, prostitutes, criminals, and general infidelity occur in front and behind the containers, called his teenage granddaughter making out with another girl. The sight caused him to fly into a fit of rage. He started his car and drove through the field it was parked in and headed straight for the containers. The two girls heard the car approach and instinctively froze on the spot. They held on to each other as the car sped towards them, with an angry pensioner behind the wheel. He was going too fast, and the pensioner knew it. He slammed his foot into the brake and hoped the momentum of the grass and gravel would help him stop. He turned the wheel at the very end when he realized it wasn't going to stop in time and hoped the car would turn away. The girl also knew he wasn't going to make it and tried to run out of the car's way. In doing so, they incidentally ran right into the back end of the pensioner's car. The subsequent hit killed both instantly. The pensioner, not wearing his seatbelt, was flung through the car and hit his head against the door window. It did not crack, but left the man unconscious and with a gaping head wound, with blood slowly seeping out of his head and onto the car seat. It was a wound that continued to bleed for many hours in the quiet countryside, until for him too it was too late. The pensioner and the girls were not found until deep in the evening, when one of the town's inhabitants happened to drive past the road. He initially did not see the accident and thought it to be another case of someone fooling around up there. His curiosity to see who it might be from town this time had led him to investigate the scene, only to be confronted with the horror show that it was. Emergency services were called, and the town was set ablaze with cries of sorrow, anger, and gossip. How could this have happened? What precisely had happened? And who had the answers? Mr. McPherson, who had been the one that found the accident, was initially seen as a suspect, though soon he was declared as innocent not long after by Sheriff Longstaff. It was enough, though, to ruin his reputation, as the townspeople never saw him in the same light again. He was forced to move out of town a year later, after suffering complete social annihilation and many hundreds of slight remarks. But despite that all, no one ever came close to figuring out who or what had happened to this pensioner and the girls. News of a serial killer spread for a while, and even drew the attention of the accustomed crime buffs and busybodies. Podcasts and YouTube videos were made on the event, and was even talk turning the whole thing into a feature film. All the while the containers remained where they stood, and the pensioner and the girls remained as dead as one could be. It would be many more decades until someone finally opened the containers, and the world came to realize it was stuffed to the brim with money, now wet, rotting, and completely useless. No more has been written or recorded. Thank you for listening.